Hello there, my name is Dr. Marie Osako Djemo, and you are watching Jodapris Live Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and thank you for watching Jodapris from wherever you are. Today we're bringing to you the webinar we just ended. We had a great time with all the participants that attended the webinar today. We did host Carl Lucchi, who came to present to us how we can stop selling and start making money fast. So if you are in the business, if you are a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you've been in business for 1 year, 10 years, 45 years like Carl, please take some time, watch the video, look into the information that we did get from Carl. If you have some comments, some suggestion, or something that you want to kind of bring in as well, do not hesitate to put that in the comments. Share the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, so that you don't miss any information. Until then, the video is there.
Of you, and of course, a few of you are from the Tampa Bay area. And Todd, I think you and I had a one-on-one at one point. But anyway, I have been in business too long, over 45 years of business experience. I have worked for a couple of millionaires that were great mentors, multimillionaires that had businesses. One of them was called Publix Markets, which is a grocery chain. When I was a kid, I started there and I knew the owner personally. The other one was Stuart Arnold, who founded the Auto Trader. And then he went, when he sold that for $100+ million, he went into business, and he was a great mentor. And he went into the business, television production business, and he hired me as a business developer. So I worked side by side with both him and knew Mr. Jenkins quite well. And I actually retired from Publix in 1980. And and then my dad was an amazing salesperson who taught me a lot about business and a lot about selling. And actually, he's the one that came up with the idea of not to sell, okay, but instead to create a buying environment. And I've got somebody trying to come in the room. I'll let this one in, but after this, we're not letting anybody in. Hi, Steve.
How are you today?
Sorry. Yeah, you were just 1 minute late. Too bad you missed the drawing for the free car, but that's okay. Yeah, I know. That's what happens. Anyway, I think you and I've met, so this is old news, but I just telling a little bit about my background before the presentation. And I've done a lot of, I have a networking organization called Tampa Bay Networkers that I've had for over 11 years, and met a ton of people, and found that over the 11 years, a lot of people, I think, make sales way too difficult. And I actually started writing a book about 9 years ago called Stop Selling and Start Making Money, because I really felt that people were making sales way too difficult. And there's a lot of things you can do to make sales a lot easier. I feel I'd rather make it fun than to make it difficult. So that's kind of the premise of what I'm going to be talking about. I want everybody to understand I have no agenda here. I'm not selling anything. There's not going to be anything I'm going to catch you with at the end that says that, but if you just send me money, whatever, I'm not doing that. And I'm strictly trying to be educational and helpful. What I would like everybody to do, make sure they have their microphones off, so in case a phone rings or something like that, it doesn't interrupt the flow of the presentation. And I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. This is actually a 2.5-hour workshop that I've done, and I've kind of streamed it down to, I'm trying to cram this into 30 to 40 minutes. Obviously, I can't go in as depth on every topic, but we can discuss some of that afterwards if you want, or we can have a one-on-one if there's anything that I'm not clear on, or if you disagree or agree. I'm not trying to change anybody. I'm just trying to give you some ideas that might be alternatives to the way you're selling if you're having any problem selling. But if you're doing it and you're doing it well and you don't have a problem with it, for heaven's sakes, don't listen to me. Keep doing what you've been doing, okay? So with that, I'm going to try to share a screen here, and you all can tell me if you see it, which, hold on 1 minute, make sure I get it up. Boom. All right, can you all see that?
Yeah.
Just give me a thumbs up or whatever, okay? Okay, all right, so The topic is called Stop Selling for More Business Success. And what I'm going to try to do is cram, like I said, about 2.5 hour workshop that I do where we actually do one-on-ones with people and role play and things like that on each one of the topics. I won't have time to do that, but I think I can do this in 30 to 40 minutes. So, but let's see what we got here. Okay. So the first thing, or one of the things we're going to talk about, is just common sense strategies for maximum sales success. Just different strategies, things that I've learned over the years, things that have been taught to me. Unfortunately, I didn't, make all this up. I've learned it from people, and I spend probably more time every week researching on tools, tips, and techniques than most people do in their regular job, because I'm kind of semi-retired. I no longer have a job, so I don't have to do that. So I get to have the luxury of researching. So like I said, what I'm going to also do is hopefully provide you with some tools, tips, and techniques that are used by a lot of salespeople successfully. I watch a lot of videos and I do a lot of reading, and that's where I get my information. So not all of this comes from me, but I pick and choose the things that I agree with, obviously. So all I ask is that you keep an open mind, right? Just like a parachute, your mind works best when it's open. You don't have to agree with it, but I would like for you to at least have an open mind enough to at least listen to what I have to say before making a judgment on whether you think it's right or not. So what I'm going to discuss is understanding the act of selling. Okay. Selling is one thing. Everybody has sales. The word is overused almost, the word sale or selling, but the act of selling. And then how to prepare for sales success, because very few people actually prepare for it, or they don't do the preparation that I feel that is needed if they want to maximize their sales success. And then I'm going to cover a few sales strategies. I can't do all of them, but we can cover a few sales strategies that I picked out that I thought might be helpful. And my phone just rang that I can't control, so I'll turn that off. Sorry. And then I'm going to provide a simple mind trick that can improve anybody's sales. In fact, it can improve anything you want to do, if you want to remember it, that I tell everybody to do. And it's really simple. It'll sound crazy, but trust me. So the act of selling, the definition that is out there in the world, I found this. It says it's the activity of qualifying potential buyers that meet specific criteria and persuading them to buy. I personally think that sucks. I don't like that definition. I prefer it's the art of discovering and filling a want or a need. Because if you've got to persuade somebody, that's a lot of work. If you've got to convince them, that's a lot of work. But if you can find out what their need is or their want is and fill that, that's a sale. And that makes selling so much easier, because it's not about you selling. It's about them buying. It's about them, you being in control of the sale, but them having the power to say, I want that, or I don't want that. So that's my definition of it. Regardless of what your definition is, you might like the first one. It's all psychology. Everything you do is psychology when it comes to making a sale. It was psychology when you met your significant other, if you're married, right? I mean, I did not walk up to my wife. I met her in a bar, but I didn't walk up to her and say, hey, I'm Carl. I'm wonderful. We need to get married. Let's go. It just ain't going to work that way. And it didn't. It did take some persuasion, though, I will tell you that. But basically what I wanted to do was get to know about her get to know about me, build the relationship, make sure we were on the same plane, and then you go to the next step, right? So that's kind of where I look at sales. You're selling all the time, every day. So why do people buy? A lot of people never even ask themselves, well, why do people buy? They just have a product or a service and they go out and sell it, right? Well, if you don't know why people buy, I don't know how the hell you can sell to them, right? So it's very important to know. One thing is, it's always psychology. It goes back to that, right? So there's two main reasons. Now in the workshop, I go through 16 subcategories, but the main reason is to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. Those are really the two things. Like Robert sells insurance. That's to avoid pain. That's not something anybody wants. I think Robert would attest to that. Nobody wants insurance, but they want to avoid the pain of a problem and they want that security, right? So That's why they do it. So they feel they need it. They may not want it, but they know they need it. So there's that reason. Gain pleasure. That's the decision whether you buy an old car or you buy a brand new Lexus. Okay. If you're buying a brand new Lexus, it's probably to gain a little bit of pleasure. Okay. A lot of that's ego driven or whatever. Depends on what you're selling. Okay. But if it's a product that, like a Mont Blanc pen that's $5,000 when you could buy a Bic pen for 99 cents, why would somebody do that? It's to gain pleasure. So those are really the only two reasons why people really buy anything. They either want it or they need it. There are subcategories to that, which we can discuss if you want. So when you're preparing for sales, you want to become the best at what you do. Why is that important? Well, it's more important now than it was in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and probably the 80s because of the internet. Everybody is out there competing with you for what you do. Okay. It doesn't matter whether it's insurance or internet or a writer or selling cookies. I don't care what it is. Everybody's out there doing what you're doing. And so you damn well better be the lead dog. Okay. And what I mean by being the lead dog, the lead dog's view is much better than the dogs that are behind him. Would you agree? I think you would. So you want to be the best at what you do, or at least you better feel like you're the best at what you do. Because if you don't come across as the best at what you do, you're going to be looking from behind and somebody else is going to be having a much better view than you are, right? So I encourage everybody to try to learn as much as you can. You may not have as much time as I do, but dedicate some time to learning more about your trade and figuring out what it is that's going to make you better than everybody else. Continually research your competition and change or pivot as needed. Now, what do I mean by that? Everybody said, well, I'm going to use Robert only because I know Robert. Robert's in the insurance business. He better stay on top of what his competition is offering, because if he isn't, his competition is going to step in. I guarantee you, your competition is watching you. They're either watching you or watching your company, because everybody is competing to be the lead dog. So as an individual, I encourage you to constantly research whatever it is you're doing. If you're a baker, you better find out what the bake shop down the street's doing. I don't care what it is. If you're in internet security, you better find out what everybody's doing. Don't assume that you already know everything, because as soon as you do, you find out you don't know anything. So your competition and your potential clients are researching you. Everybody is. Here's some companies that failed to research and pivot. Anybody heard of any of these companies? Most all of them are either out of business or they're almost non-existent. Okay, just look at Yahoo, for instance. They were around way before Google, right? But Yahoo isn't Google because they were either too uppity. Well, I know everything. We don't need to change. We don't need to pivot. So that's the reason why you need to always be trying to improve yourself and what you're selling, and to make sure that you're the lead dog. Research your potential client. Very few people do this. When I was in sales and I had to sell, I did this. And when I was in sales, the internet was very, very small. I still went on the internet and I tried to find information about somebody I was going to talk to. And it didn't matter where they were in the country. If you research online somebody's name because you know you're going to have an appointment with them, it's good to have that ammunition to know as much about them as possible. You can probably even find out personal information that's going to tell you a lot about how to deal with them. You can find out if they're in business, if they're not in business. Doesn't matter whether you're selling business to consumer or business to business. But if you can find information, what if you don't find anything? That's good information. They're non-existent on the internet. Why? So that's going to tell you a little bit about them when you go to talk to them, right? So even not being able to find information is information. So you should never go into a sales situation without being prepared, right? And this is part of being prepared. I belong to the Alignable group. Not everybody here belongs to Alignable, I don't think, but there's a group called Alignable, and they'll send out something saying, Joe Blow would like to connect with you. Well, I don't just connect with Joe. I go to their profile page to find out what in the hell Joe is doing or who he is. I don't connect just for the sake of connecting. I'm not going to waste their time or waste their time or my time. And if I want to connect, it's kind of like, you kind of like to know a little bit about the person before you do that. Louise has heard this 1,000 times. Robert might have heard it, but I know Louise has heard it. I pound this into people's heads constantly. If you're not distinct, you'll become extinct, or you may become extinct in your business. And why do I say that? It's okay to be a little bit different. You don't need to be like everybody else. I've never been accused of being the same as everybody else, trust me. Okay, in fact, I'm a little shy of normal probably. But anyway, if you're just a little bit different, everybody's eyes will go to you. And the example I use in the workshop is this. If you have, I'm assuming everybody here has probably been to a live or in-person networking meeting, and you probably found that there was a lot of, well, let's just say insurance agents. I was going to use realtors, but let's just say there's insurance agents. If you go to an open networking thing, there's probably going to be a half dozen insurance agents there. And if you have 5 insurance agents and they're all dressed in a coat and tie and you have them all stand up in a line and you ask insurance agent what they do, I sell insurance. And then they might tell you a little bit of what kind of insurance they do. And the second one will do the same thing. The third one will do the same thing. The fourth one will do the same thing. And then you get to Robert. And then Robert's there and he says, insurance sucks. Okay. But it sucks less if you use me. Well, everybody's eyes will go over to Robert, right? Because Robert was a little different than the guy in the suit. Robert might have been wearing a t-shirt that says, that's what she said. Okay. It doesn't matter. It just made him enough different to where people recognize the difference. There was a fellow that in one of my networking meetings that Louise might remember. I honestly don't remember his name now because this was like 8 years ago, but he sold insurance. And there'd be other insurance agents in there and they'd all be wearing a coat and tie because that's what they've been told to do. So they all looked alike, sounded alike, did the same thing. This guy wore a Hawaiian shirt every time he came to the meeting. Do you remember who I'm talking about, Louise? Okay. Why do I remember that? Because he was just a little bit different. And people actually wanted to talk to him because he was a little bit different. I mean, I think Robert would probably attest that insurance can be pretty freaking boring if you don't make it interesting. Okay. Who wants to hear about something that they don't want? So, but this guy, everybody wanted to talk to. So I encourage people, and during the workshop, what I did was, which was a lot of fun, we went around the room and we tried to figure out how to make everybody different. We brainstormed. So we can't do that today, but I encourage you to get with somebody else or start looking for ways that you can be just a little bit different. Doesn't have to be big. It just needs to be enough different to make you stand out against your competition. It's going to give you a leg up. Okay. Don't have to do it, but I encourage it. So getting the sales strategies, your goal is to get them to buy. Let's face it. Okay. You're there to sell. Nothing wrong with that. Sales is not a bad word. Okay. And that's how you exist. It's by making a sale. Doesn't mean you have to cram it down their throat. It just means that you need to get them to find out what they need and fill that need. Now, here's a graphic that I found that talked about different personality traits around the country. This is no longer as true as it used to be because we're such a melting pot and people, especially Florida where we're at, we've got people from all over the country. But everybody has different personality traits, even in this room. Most people are either assertive, amiable, expressive, or analytical. And that doesn't matter whether you're buying or selling. Everybody's got a different personality. And every time I talk to somebody, I try to recognize what their personality trait is. Okay. And the reason why that's important is because people like to talk to people and be sold by people who are like them. Not above them, below them, or even in their vernacular or whatever. They like for people to be more like them. So When I was working for the television production company as a business developer, I developed a company called Zip Video. And I had to talk to people all over the US, North America mainly, Canada and the US. And I would call somebody in New York, and I'm not picking on New York if anybody's from New York, but sometimes they can be pretty abrupt. And I would call them up to talk to them about this company Zip Video that I had. And basically what they wanted to do is, come on, Carl, let's get to the point. Just tell me what it is. How much is it? And let's move forward. That was their attitude. That was the New York attitude. I can say that because my wife is from New York. Okay. And so that was the way I talked to them. If I was talking to somebody in Mississippi or Dallas, it was, how are the kids? What's the weather like? You know, yada, 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 build that warm relationship before I could ever even get to talk about Zip Video. It's different people's personalities. So what I would try to do, if I'm talking to somebody in New York, I got Zip Video, this is something you really need. Okay, I don't know why your company is not using it, and I really need you to order today. I mean, that was kind of like the attitude. But if I'm talking to somebody in Dallas, it's like, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? And yada, 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 right? So I had to match my personality to theirs as much as I could, even though I'm very analytical and sometimes can be abrupt. I try to soften it when I have to, or I speed it up if I have to. I mean, I've had people that are more assertive than I am. Okay. But I really think it's important that when you're going to talk to somebody, and you can find out a lot about this when you research them. Number one, where are they from? You know, you can find all kinds of things. So, you know, when you go into it, the attitude you have to have. So people like people who are like them. Okay. Here's a big one. Your time is valuable. I sure hope it is. I hope you've put a value on your time. Stop wasting time with those who want to waste your time. I bet everyone here knows and has met these people. They just love to get there and have you jump through all the hoops and everything so they can tell you no at the end. Right? Why? Don't waste your time. Quit trying to sell people who don't have money. Do a little research, find out what they're doing. Once you find out what they need, if they say, well, yeah, but I'm on unemployment and I'm sitting on the corner of a Walmart begging for food, I doubt you're going to be able to sell them too much. But if you want to do that and you want to spend that time, get a whole group of people that are homeless and do a sales pitch to them. It may be very interesting, but I don't think you're going to make many sales. Nothing against homeless people. Everybody's had it rough. I'm just saying it's really tough to make money trying to sell people that don't have money. I'm going to guess, I'm just going to throw a wild one out there, that one or more of you has heard this at the end of a presentation. I need to think about it, or I need to talk it over with somebody, or I'll get back to you. I bet most everybody has heard that. In fact, a lot of times people hear it more times than they make the sale. Well, if you take a few, can't go into a long thing on this either, but if you do kind of a little pre-interview with them, there's nothing wrong with honesty. If they know while you're there, and I'm going to go back to Robert, if they know that you're sitting down to talk to them and give a presentation on insurance, they know that they're hoping that you're going to close the deal at the end. I would sure hope they would think that. But if Robert finds that out, says, hey, are you just looking for information today? Or are you ready to do something for your family or whatever your possible need is? You just ask them up front. If you think you're going to need to think about it, then abbreviate your presentation and say, okay, that's food for thought. If you have any more questions, let's set a time to get back. If they say, oh, I need to talk it over with my wife. Let's get your wife into the meeting next time, because no sense in having to go over this twice. And I really hate for you to have to remember everything I talked about. So why don't we reset the meeting? There's nothing wrong with setting the ground rules on your presentation. Are you going to eliminate it? No, but you can reduce the time that you spend with a potential client by getting some ground rules up front. You can say, Mr. Jones, when I get done with my presentation, there's 3 ways that this can end. Number 1, you're going to want what we have and we're going to move forward. That's wonderful. Or you don't want what I want and you just tell me, no, it's not for me, and that's okay. But telling me you need to get back to me, you want to think about it, that's unacceptable. So can we agree to make a decision today that either you tell me yes or you tell me no, or that you want me to provide more information and we'll set time for another meeting? Would that be okay, Mr. Jones or whoever? Nothing wrong with getting the ground rules set up front. This is business, right? It's your livelihood and your time is valuable. Okay? You're busy. You need to help people who need help. You always want to be in control of the sale. You don't want the other person being in control. Too many times the customer's in control. And they do that. They become in control by telling you, well, you know, you thought you had me, but I'll talk to you later. And I will tell you that 98% of the time, when they say they want to think about it, or they want to talk it over with somebody, or I'll get back to you, it was about the money. It was about the cost. Because if you were selling a Mercedes or a Lexus and you told them how much it was at the end, they said, I'll get back to you. And you said, well, what if I gave it to you for free? I bet they would sign on the dotted line. They could make a decision when it was free. So you just need to know that, you know, everybody lies. They're lying to you. Prospects will lie to you. Nothing against prospects. I'm just telling you, they're liars. They will lie to you in a heartbeat. Okay. So all you're asking people to do is to be honest. Let's just, you know, before we get into this, because I got 2 more people I need to see. If you just want to think about it, or you just want to hear me do my sales pitch, I've practiced 25 times in the last month. I really don't need to practice anymore. Have a great day. Thank you very much. So another sales strategy that my dad taught me. When I was about 16 or 17, we were sitting in front of a television set, black and white. And we have a mall in an area called Tyrone Mall. And it was at Christmas time. And there was a helicopter from one of the news stations hovering over the parking lot. And the parking lot was jam full. In fact, Tyrone Boulevard was right there in front of it. And there were cars backed up trying to get into that parking lot. And my dad, being in sales, said to me, do you know why people are this was at Christmas. He said, do you know why people are packing that parking lot? And I said, yeah, Dad, it's Christmas. I said, what a stupid question. He said, no. He says, yeah, it is Christmas, but they're going in there because they want to buy, but they don't want to be sold. And I thought, you know, you're 16, your dad doesn't know anything, right? My parents didn't know anything when I was 16. Took me a long time to figure out they really knew a lot. So he said to me, he said, what do you think would happen if all the stores put somebody in the front with a hook? And as people walk by, they took that hook and they pulled people in. What would happen? I said, well, people would probably not go to the mall because they don't want to be pulled in by a hook. He said, yeah, that's right. He said, instead, what they do is they create a buying environment. They put window dressing on the windows. They write sale all over everything. They put all the cheap stuff in the back. So you have to walk past the expensive stuff, hoping that you'll see the expensive stuff and buy that before you get to the cheap stuff. I think everybody's probably seen this, right? But they had the opportunity to make a decision on whether they wanted it or not. They created a buying environment where they asked for what the store had. The store didn't try to cram it down their throat, tell them they had to have it, or try to force it. So you can do the same thing in a personal sales situation when you're talking to someone. You create a buying environment where they actually ask you if they can have what you're selling. I personally would rather somebody ask me if they could have what I'm selling than me to have to convince them, persuade them, or cram it down their throat. Because most of the time, especially in insurance, because I used to be in the business, if you sold something like that, 3 days later, you found out that they didn't want it and they turned it back. They had buyer's remorse because you crammed it down their throat and they really didn't want it. So my dad was smarter than what I knew he was at the time. So here's another one. I almost didn't include this, but I felt it was important. I don't know how many times I've sat down with people from networking groups and things like that. And I said, give me your pitch. And they didn't say this to me in words, but in body language and facial expressions, they were saying, I know you probably don't want this, but I really hope you do. It was nothing but psychology. It's nothing but You know, the person trying to sell it has already got a negative attitude because they've given 25 presentations and nobody's bought. So the natural thing to do with body language, even though they're sitting there telling you all about this great MLM or whatever it is they got, they're sitting there saying, I know you don't want this, but I sure hope you listen to me, and I sure hope you want it. And then if you do want it, it's like they're so surprised because most everybody else didn't want it. So you need to go in not being cocky, but you need to go into every sale, whether you need it or not. If you need it to make your next house payment, don't go in letting people know that with body language. You go in like, I got 10 minutes here. I got the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I know you really need this. That's what your body language should say. Because I got 5 people waiting to get it too. And I've only got so many of them left. So it's a mental, psychological attitude that you need to go in with when you go to make a sale. Okay. Is it easy? No, it isn't. Sometimes you got to coach yourself and you got to talk yourself into doing what you need to do to get there. You're real busy. I've had people before that wants to sell me something. I said, well, when can we get together? Oh, I'm open 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. Just call me. We can get this done. People want to do business with people who are busy, not people who are available 24/7, 7 days a week. I don't want to do business with somebody that's not busy. I want to do business with people who are successful. That's what everybody else wants to do. So I don't give a damn if you're open the whole week. Give them a few options. Can we meet at Monday at 3 or Friday at 4? Well, I can only do it at Wednesday at noon. Oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. Let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'll call you back in 10 minutes. I'm going to get with my other appointment, see if I can move them around just for you. Now, what have you done? You made them very special. You didn't have anything on Wednesday, but they don't know that. Are you being disingenuous? Okay, so what? You're being a little disingenuous. The bottom line is you want them to know how special they are, but how busy you are. Because people want to do business with people who are busy, not people who are available 24/7. If any of y'all want to get a hold of me, I'm available 24/7, not. So, did you know that what you know can hurt your sales? I will tell you that I feel I know a lot about what I do because I've got 45 years of people pumping it into my head. I know a lot, but I got a bulletin for you. No one cares what I know. Nobody cares how the sausage was made. In fact, they probably don't want to know how the sausage was made because if they did, they wouldn't buy it. The thing is, they really don't care how smart you are. They don't really care about all your knowledge. What do they care about? They only care about the aspects that will take care of their needs or their wants. So you need to stick to that. And you can't do that by vomiting information about how brilliant you are and all you know about your products and services. They don't care. Stop educating people. I spent 12 years trying to get out of school. Thank God when I got out, people stopped educating me. Okay? Because they'd sit up there and they'd tell me all this stuff I didn't care about. If I wanted to know it, I'd ask the question. I'm not against education, by the way. There's a necessity for it, but I'm just saying in sales. Stop promoting features and benefits. In a little bit, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who makes the best salesperson, and you'll be surprised. But stop promoting features and benefits. I don't know how many times I've had somebody sit down in front of me, open up their laptop with their flip chart sales presentation, and they start telling me all about the features and benefits of something they don't even know whether I want it or need it. Selling ain't telling, it's asking. You need to find out what their needs are, and then you fill those needs or their wants. You might even want to create a practice script of questions that you're going to ask if you haven't already done that. Just create questions that you know that you're going to want to get information about the client or potential client that you can ask them that's going to give you the information you need to give them the specifics on the information that they want. Okay? Most people don't want to hear all about the bells and whistles, the Canute and Ron, the Finnegan pin and the muffler bearing. They don't care about all that stuff. Okay. They just want what's going to help them. When they ask a question, answer with another question. Now, I don't mean get ridiculous with it, but if somebody goes to buy a car and the car dealer says, what is he looking for? They say, well, I'm looking for a such and such, and I'd like to have it green. Well, if he doesn't have one in green, he might say, do you really need it in green? Do you think a blue would work, or a turquoise? I've got one of those. No, I want it in green. Okay, well, let's see what we can do. But if you answer the question with a question, now you're getting more information about what the client really wants. They may not have really wanted it in green. That was just their first preference. But if it absolutely has to be in green and you don't have it in green, you got nowhere to go. So you stop and you try to help them find somebody that has one in green. So you answer questions with questions sometimes, and the look on the guy's face, I really don't care how it works. I've seen that look before when somebody's giving a presentation. I wish they would hurry up and get to the point. Ask questions you already know the answer to. And what do I mean by that? If you've ever watched a courtroom drama, the attorney will ask the person on the witness stand questions. Do you think they really want to know the answer? They already have the answer. They're not going to ask a question they don't already have the answer to. Now, it may sound ridiculous, but if you're selling insurance, Robert, I hope you don't mind me using you today. If you're selling insurance, you might say something like, do you know how much coverage you really need? Now, you know how much they need or might need through other questions, but you want to ask them so that they're saying, well, no, I really don't. But how much do I need? Or, you want to ask questions you have the answer, because you don't want to be caught asking a question that you don't have the answer. Okay. Now, it could happen. They might ask you something on their own that you don't have, and it's okay to say, you know what, I don't have the answer to that, but I will get back to you with that. And then you find that answer. But you always want to try to ask enough questions that you already have the answers to when you're making a sale. Okay. So before accepting the sale, let's say you get to the end and you think you're done because they've said, I really want that, right? So you think, geez, I need to shut up and ask for the sale. Not quite. I really think you owe this to the customer, and also you owe it to yourself to ask them if there are any specific questions or anything that we talked about that you don't understand that you need clarification on. Because you want a solid sale, you don't want an iffy sale or one where they were afraid to ask you, and then they talked it over with their wife that night and they said, oh, geez, maybe we shouldn't get that. And they call up and they cancel. You wasted a bunch of time for you and them, or you have to go in and do damage control. So before I ever made a complete sale, I asked that final question. Some people think that might be dangerous. If you can get the money, go ahead and get it. You can, but I always want to make sure that they requested what I had. I didn't sell them. So they understood and they had all the information they needed. Anything that you were going to educate them on that you didn't educate them on, they either didn't know it or they'll be sure to ask you. They might even ask you after the sale, hey, Robert, I didn't ask you about this the other day, but we've got the insurance on, but I just need to know, what about this? And then you answer it, but don't give it to them if they don't ask for it. If they say no, shut up and ask for the damn sale, right? You're done. They want it. You got it. Ask for the check. So in closing, I don't know how I'm doing on time because I can't see the clock, but here's a simple mind trick that works. Most everybody owns a Post-it note. And if you believe, as I do, that selling isn't telling, it's asking. In my workshop, I told everybody, take a Post-it note, take a marker and write on there, selling isn't telling, and it's asking, and put it on the bathroom mirror. And everybody looks at me, Carl, this guy Carl's crazy. Why in the hell would I do that? I already know what it says. It's psychology. It's retraining your brain. Whatever it is you want to remember, if you put it on a Post-it note and put it in the bathroom and leave it there for 28 days is what they say, but some people can do it in 7, some people take 70 days. But if you leave it there, when you go in, that's usually the first place you go every morning. So you're going to see it subliminally. You're going to know what it says. You're not going to read it, but that ugly yellow Post-it note is going to stand out, and its subliminal message is going to say selling isn't telling, it's asking. And then the next time you get into a sales situation and you start telling them about the Knut rod, the Finnegan pin, and the muffler bearing, and all how the sausage is made, that Post-it note will pop in your mind and say, will you shut up and start asking questions? Because I want to make a sale. I need to ask questions. I need to find out what their needs are. It's a simple mind trick. It works. I use it for different things, right? When I'm doing sales, I'm always asking questions. So I pretty much don't need that one. I use it for other things now. Like, do what your wife said, okay? Or you're going to be in trouble. So, so anyway, that's a real simple one. You can try it yourself. If you think it's ridiculous or you think your significant other is going to think you're nuts, just explain to them why you did it, right? What's the worst that can happen? You don't remember it. That's the worst. But I'm betting that if you try it, you're going to laugh about it because you're going to see it the next time you get in front of somebody to make a sale. Okay, here's some other factors that I don't have time to go into. Words that help or hurt sales. There's a ton of them that you don't want to use, like the word cost. You don't want to use that. Okay, hard words. You don't want to use that. But there's a ton of them. You want to avoid using acronyms in sales presentations. What was it? Somebody was talking about where DC was, and everybody, they say, oh, you probably don't know what that is. Anytime you use an acronym and somebody doesn't understand it, they have a tendency to tense up, or, oh my gosh, I'm not smart. That's the first thing that goes in their mind, and they back away. There's a whole reason why you shouldn't provide written proposals. That's 50s and 60s stuff. All you're doing when you give written proposals, and I go into detail in this a workshop, but is you give them a written proposal, what you're doing is giving them something they can go out and check everybody else to see if they can beat it, okay? If they give you money, then you can say, I'll give you a written proposal, but make them give you a down payment. Sell like a drug dealer to close more deals. I use this as a shock factor to explain to people how a lot of times you can sell like a drug dealer. No, it's not illegal. It's basically, what that means is you give them a little bit, you give them a little bit, give them a little bit. They come back, say, can I have some more? No, now you got to buy it. Okay. But I have a whole thing I do on that to tell people how to do that. And then there's a thing my dad created called What's in the Box. And I don't have time to go into it. But anyway, that's another sales technique. All right. Who are the best salespeople and why? I bet I could ask everybody in the room, and maybe Louise would know if she's been to one of the workshops, but the best salespeople in the world are doctors, and they've never had any sales training. Why are they the best sales people? Because when you go to the doctor, you go in and they're going to ask you, what's wrong with you? How do you feel? Let's take your temperature. What's happened? You know, which changes have had? They do nothing but ask you questions. And then they write you a prescription or tell you what you need to do to fix yourself. They just made a sale and you didn't even realize it. They did it for a good reason. I bet when you went into the doctor, you didn't say, well, if you look up here on the wall, you'll see where I went to college and how smart I am. And oh, by the way, I sell vitamins and I do all this. That didn't happen. Number one, they don't have time. Number two, that's not why you were there. So doctors really make the best salespeople. Next time you go to the doctor, you'll know what I mean. And then, of course, overcoming objections. I think overcoming objections can actually be fun, okay? And which is another whole thing that we role play and we do, but I don't have time to do it. So you can't lose whenever you keep your mind open, because you're liable to pick up something. I hope you picked up something today. Understanding that sales is all psychology. I gave you a mind trick, and I really think that everybody needs to look for a way to become distinct. And as Albert Einstein said, if what you're doing is not working, you know, or doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is insanity. So if what you are doing doesn't seem to be working, I would at least attempt or try a couple of these things. Dr. Marie, do I have time for a real quick story and then we'll wrap it up?
Yes, Carl.
Okay, because we can go over a little bit if we have to. The last boss I have was the founder of the Auto Trader. He sold it for a ton of money. When I went to apply for the job, I didn't even know who he was. I didn't know he was a former owner of the Auto Trader. I just knew that he had a luxurious office and that we had a lot in common. We liked a lot of the same things after talking. So I got around to ask him, I said, how in the world did you make all the money in Auto Trader? What was the secret sauce that you used? He said, well, I'll tell you. It says, but you got to agree to do something for me. He had a great big oak desk with a piece of plexiglass on the top of it, or may have been glass. He said, I want you to tap your finger on that desk. I said, what do you mean? I just want you to tap your finger, just like in the picture. And I don't want you to stop until I tell you. I said, okay. So I started tapping my finger. And about 5 minutes in, I'm thinking, this guy's nutcase. Why in the world is he telling me this? He didn't even know me. I didn't know who he was. And I'm tapping. My finger's starting to get sore in about 5 minutes of tapping on this piece of glass. And I stopped. He said, don't stop tapping. And he's explaining to me what the formula was for Trader. So about 5 more minutes went, and I said, Stuart, I said, I hate to tell you this, but my finger's turning blue. It's really hurting. So he told me, he says, okay, you can stop. He said, why do you think I told you to do that? I said, I have no idea. He said, because no matter what I did to make all the money I made in Trader, you have to keep tapping, no matter how bad it hurts. You got to keep at it, because in business, you're going to run into pitfalls. You're going to run into failures. You're going to run into all kinds of things, but you have to do it past the pain. He said, I guarantee you. He said, look at the desk. He said, do you see anything different? I said, no. He said, that's because you quit tapping. He said, you might have had to been there a week, but if you'd have kept tapping, eventually you'd have broken through. And he said, that's what you have to do in business to be successful. And I remember that. And that was the first day I met the guy. And I remember that from day forward, that when I went to create a business for him, no was unacceptable to him. It's not going to work was not acceptable to him. Okay. And so that was a lesson that I learned and kept from him as a mentor. That's all I got for today.
Thank you so much, Carl. Thank you so much for that brilliant presentation. Thank you so much. So I'm sure everybody is burning with questions and telling us a little bit about your business. How do you sell in your business? What's working for you? What hasn't been working? So we will really appreciate if we can take this. Now we're left with 25 minutes to kind of have now a conversation.
And we got Theo coming back in.
Yeah, looks like
that's all right. So does anybody have any questions, or am I so distinct that I'm out there in left field?
No, this is Jeanette. Hi, in Texas, Houston.
Hi.
You know, normally, like you say, you're normally trying to fill a need,
Right.
that someone may have, or a company or a customer or a client may have. But sometimes, what about if it's a want that you're trying to fill? So they really have to want it, rather than need it.
Okay. What do you sell again?
Well, baked goods. It's baked
Okay.
goods, baskets and things.
Okay.
Like that.
So do they come to you?
Well, they come to me. I have some loyal customers that come to me, but then when I reach out to new customers, I have to go to them.
Okay. All right. So when you're going to them, you find out why they want it. What is it? They contacted you or you got together. They must know what you're selling, right? Mm-hmm. So do a little, what made you choose me? What interested you? I mean, this is why I say we have to role play, but what is it about baked goods that you like so much, or why is it, you feel you need this? Find out what they need, and then check that off, put that on your questionnaire of things you're going to ask, if it's a want. Now, most people don't need baked goods. They want them. I think that would fall into that category.
Right.
I mean, they can live till tomorrow without a baked good, right? But so you need to create in your sales presentation the reasons why somebody would want yours, meaning you're a little bit distinct, you're different than the baker down the road. And it can be everything from the quality to the price. It can be all kinds of things, right? But I think in what you're doing, it's more about the quality than it is the price.
Right.
You might even be more expensive, and then you need to, help them understand. I really like what you have, but boy, you're 25% higher than the guy down the road. Okay. What my dad used to say when he just sold graphic arts, what he used to tell people, because he sold graphic arts and printing supplies, we had a wholesale place called Web City where people could go there and buy printing supplies. And they'd say, yeah, but Carl, I can get that for $3 less down the road. He'd say, yeah. And they know what their stuff is worth. And I don't come with their stuff. But if you want to, I can tell you where you can get it cheaper than that place. There's all kinds of places you can beat price, but you can't beat quality and service. So, he just believed in being honest with people. And if price is their thing, then they're going to go somewhere else anyway. But if it's quality they want, that's what you want to fill the need with, or the want.
Right.
With. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. Plus one other quick thing, because I don't want to take all the time.
That's okay.
My product is something that's different from many stores.
Makes you distinct.
Yeah, it's distinct. So when I get that, I had some buyers on rangeme.com, purchasers says, oh, this is similar to what we already have. And I say, no, it isn't. And so we go back and forth in the conversation.
Well,
so the next step.
What I would have said was, how is it similar? What I do, I just asked a question.
Oh, they would say it was similar because it had some nuts in it. And I said, but it doesn't stop there. It's not just pecans.
Well, no, but see, once again, it's really tough. Selling ain't telling, right? So if you said, you're right, you don't argue with them. It does have nuts in it. Does the other one have this in it? Does it have this in it? What about this? Does it have this in it? Well, I don't know. That's how we're different.
Okay.
You're asking questions. Okay. It's really difficult because we want to tell people, all about, we want to educate them. You don't need to educate them. They'll ask the question. You can ask the question back that will educate them. And it's something you have to practice. Okay. You're not going to leave here today and it's going to work the first time out the chute. You're going to mess up. Okay. You're going to go back to telling them. But if you use that Post-it note, it'll all of a sudden hit, ooh, geez, I need to shut up and start asking questions.
Okay.
It's fun. Make it fun. Don't make it a chore.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Todd, did you have a question? You got to unmute.
Yeah, it was more of a comment actually off of something that she said in your answer to her. So the third piece to that, I learned this in recruiting school in the Navy way back years and years ago. There's a want, there's a need, and there's a third piece called a dominant buying motive. And that's what you need to look for, because that's what ties the want and the need together. The way they trained it to us, I'll just give you the analogy and you can kind of make it work for whatever businesses you're in. But, I'm talking to some 17-year-old kid trying to get him to join the military. And what does he want? He wants a bright red sports car so he can go pick up girls. So I've got to twist that around to what's his real dominant buying motive. His dominant buying motive is actually, the picking up girls part, not the red sports car. I'm not selling him a red sports car. I'm giving him a career in the military that gives him a steady paycheck, 4 years guaranteed paycheck, so he can go to the bank and get instant credit, buy that car to pick up the girl.
Right.
No, you're right. We twist it around. So his dominant buying motive is actually, he just wants to do what he thinks he needs to do to be able to, go out and meet girls. So focus on that piece. And the other thing that I would say is, with the differentiation, and this wasn't really part of our thing today because this is more on the actual sales pitch itself, but you need to target yourself so that you're presenting yourself in front of the people who are looking for the specialty line and not the regular one that they could get at Walmart.
Oh, absolutely. And that goes right back to quit selling people that don't have money. I mean, you need to have if you can sell to a group who is looking for something, it's a lot easier than selling somebody that has no idea you're coming at them.
Yeah. And I think that especially applies to what you were saying, Jeanette, with the, well, they're like, oh, I can get it cheaper down the street. Well, yes, but that's the normal one. And I sell the fancy organic one that has all this other stuff. So you need to get in front of the organic wanting market And then they won't be coming to you going, oh, I can get the one at Walmart. They'll be coming to you going, finally, I found somebody who doesn't sell the same crap they have at Walmart.
Right. Yeah, Jeanette, quit selling people with diabetes, okay? So anyway, thanks, Todd.
And just to add something on that, when somebody tells you, why should I buy from you? I can go down the street, I can buy for something, the same thing at a cheaper price. That's why we need to do the research. The research is very important. You need to know, how do I stand out in the business? We're a marketing company. There's so much marketing companies around here.
Yep.
But why will somebody not consult Carl and go consult Dr. Marie? So we need to stand out. I need to do the research of my competitors. What is Carl doing? Why is he having these customers? What is so unique about Carl? Then when I know what is going on with Carl, then I can come back to myself and try to perfect myself. There's no perfection, right? Don't get me wrong. There's no perfection, but try to do what you can do best. Just try your best in what you're doing. Just stand out a little bit, that difference that Carl was talking about. Be a little bit different. And people will come to you and say, I just like the way she talks.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. And it just dawned on me, but it comes back to business networking. I don't like industry exclusive groups and networking, because that tells me that if you have to go where you have the only seat, you must not be very good at what you do because you're afraid to have competition. It's good in whatever field, whether it's baking or IT or whatever, to talk to other people who are in the same industry, not as a competitor, but to learn from each other. You can help them and they can help you. It's part of your research. And most everybody will talk to you. Now, if they have some secret sauce, they're not going to tell you what that is. But the thing is that you can learn a lot from them and use that to your advantage. Mm-hmm. So it never hurts to talk to the competition.
That is very true. Go ahead, Luke.
I have a couple things to say. First, Jeanette would probably benefit from the sell as a drug dealer, because she could give out the samples and have them taste it.
Right.
And also, the second comment I have is one thing that I learned at a seminar for real estate agents was to use the words, the next step is. And I have found that actually has been helpful when I'm pitching somebody, that we get to the end and I say, well, the next step is we write an agreement, or the next step is we set up a Zoom meeting, or the next step, because that keeps me top of their mind. And I've been able to close more sales by doing that. The other thing.
Assuming the sale.
Huh?
It's assuming the sale. There's something.
It's assuming the sale, yeah.
That's right.
But the other thing I wanted to ask you, I've heard several times that you should give them a couple dates and times, and they will immediately pick one of those dates or times, or they'll give you a time of their own. But I've actually found the opposite. I found when I give them dates and times, they don't want to help, they don't want to come back to me. So I don't know how to get around that. The people.
Are you talking about online, or are you talking about in person? What?
Both. When I'm on the phone with them, or when I'm on online in like a LinkedIn chat, or I'll give them 2 times and then I get crickets.
Well, I tell you what I do a lot of times, because I probably have 5 to 7 one-on-ones from Alignable a week, okay, from connections. And that's out of 12 or 15 that say they want to connect, but they don't really. They're just trying to get their information out, okay? But I usually have between 5 and 7 a week. And what I do in the chat, but I could do it on the phone and say, you know what, I've got a real busy schedule, but I tell you what, if you will email me or you will send me your best days and times, Eastern Standard Time, I think, Dr. Marie, you and I have done this. If you'll give me your best days and times, Eastern Standard Time, I'll check my calendar and see if I can coordinate that with you, that something is going to work for both of us. And if we can't do it, it actually happened this week. I had somebody want to meet me this week. I said, I can't do it. You know, let's set something, just send me your best days and times next week, and I will get back with you and give you what my availability is, and we'll log it in. So you can, if you don't want to take control and say, let's do it on Tuesday or Wednesday or Tuesday and Friday, whatever, at this time or that time, you can ask them to provide you their schedule. I think sometimes that is more difficult for them to do than for me to go ahead and quote unquote, make the sale of the time. But you can try it both ways. You know, if you think that they're not going to get back to you, you get back to them. Why didn't we get back together? You know, I'm a little bit blunt at times, but the thing is I like honesty. And if there's a reason why somebody didn't do it, I want to know why. Why didn't we follow through? Why didn't we? What's wrong? You know, if you're not going to meet with them and you're not going to sell them, you weren't going to sell them anyway. It's a done deal. So if it means enough to you to meet with them, go ahead and do that. Now, most of mine are one-on-ones where you're just trying to get to know somebody. So if they don't connect, I look at it as their loss, you know, but you can look at it however you want, you know. But if it's somebody that you really, really want to meet with because you want to collaborate with them or whatever, go after it, you know. Say, well, look, you know, those 2 times I didn't hear back from you. So why don't you give me some times and days and let's see what we can work out. Maybe I can move something around. Anytime you make somebody special, they pay attention to you, right, Louise?
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you can make them feel special, like you're doing something for them, they'll generally, wow, this person's willing to do that for me. Just saying.
Yeah. Okay. I have actually done that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll say, well, what's good for you? And I usually get more answers than if I say, I have these 2 times available. So.
Well, I always say it to, you know, in the workshops, one of the first things out of my mouth is not everything is going to work 100%. Not everything is going to work for everybody the same way. And I can't force you to do any of this. You need to pick and choose and try the different things. Just keep an open mind and think about it and give some things some tries, because that's what it's all about. But the thing is, don't make it such a labor. Make it fun. I'm going to try that. Let's see if that works. And then if it does, it's like, yay. But if it doesn't work once, don't give up, because a lot of times you got to try things over and over several times to make them work. But once they start working, then you put that on your list. I got to do that again. And eventually you'll come up with a formula that's going to work for you doing your sales. You know, we used to have, when I was in insurance, we had a guy we used to call him a slam dunker. He made his wife set 4 appointments a day. He went out on the 4 appointments, and he sold insurance in the worst way. It was like, I'm afraid if I leave here today and something happens to your husband, I'm going to feel so guilty. That's terrible. Okay. But he would sell 3 and lose 2. You don't need to do that. You know, you just need to find out what somebody's needs are. See if you can help them. If you can't help them, maybe you can help them find somebody who can help them. You do that, you're going to build I got a story about that too. Don't have time. But, you know, not everybody's going to fit your product or service. And that's okay. Because if they did, you'd be on your yacht in the south of France right now, not talking to me. I know that's where I would be. So anyway, anybody else have a question? All right, cool. All right, well, you're welcome to download the chat if you all know how to do that, if you all put your information in there. And, you know, from a networking standpoint, I think it's always good to reach out to other people. Dr. Marie, I know you and Stacy, I really think ought to connect in some fashion.
Yes.
Stacy
Yes.
can tell you the background of her company and what it does, and you can tell her what you're trying to do with your college and stuff.
Yes, definitely.
Could be a way you all can help each other. So, well, that's all I got. If, you know, I hope it was worth your while. And I can't hear you, Stacy.
You're muted.
Yeah, my lip reading skills are really low.
Oh, sorry. How do you download the chat?
Well, you go to the chat, you open it up,
Yeah, it's
and then in the
open.
lower right-hand corner, there's 3 little dots,
Yeah, okay, I see it.
and it'll say Save Chat.
Right.
And it will probably save it to your documents or something like that on your computer. And it looks kind of funny when you see it, but all the information's there.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Yep.
Okay, Dr. Marie, I'm done. What you want to do?
All right. Thank you so much, Carl.
Yeah.
Thank you. You did a fantastic job. Thank you. We've learned a lot. And I want to hear from Steve. Steve did not say anything.
I just have one question real quick.
Sure.
Is there any way to make this available so we can watch it again?
Dr. Marie?
Yes, yes. We did record it. We're going to put it on the website. And if somebody wants it, we can send it to you. What we're trying to build here, I told myself, in my business, I'm not just selling. I am building a community. So I'm building a connection where we can help each other while we are doing this business. Because I believe that in partnership, you can do more than just trying to figure out things yourself. So if we have people who have been in business for 45 years like Carl, and we have people who have been also in business for 2-3 years. Myself, I've been in business only for 6 years, but I was born in business. I started managing my, my parents' business at the age of 10. So I've been in business since I was 10. So there's so much that I've learned. But being a business owner on an international level, it's only since 2016. So we're still learning. There's so much that we're looking to learn. We want to flourish the business, but I believe that if I can hold Carl's hand, I can hold Janet's hands, I can hold his hands, I will learn more than what I can get from going in the books. So this is our first webinar, and I am so excited that we are heading in the right direction. And I just want to thank you, everybody. Thank you for making this a success. Your presence has made this a success. Your participation has made this a success. So we're gonna make the video available. And if you feel like there is a business that you want to get in touch with, you can either reach out to them or you can get through Carl or myself, and we can make sure that we are connecting.
I have,
You want to say something?
may I add one more thing?
Sure.
I started a group on Alignable called I Refuse to Fail, and it's at the top there. And there's a website, but it's basically for people who do, well, for coaches, consultants, and service providers that can work on a multi-state or national or international level. And there's 2 levels to it. Alignable has their free Q&A bulletin board, I call it. It's kind of 1990s looking, but I can help you maneuver Alignable if you found it difficult. There's things about it I like and things I don't like about it, which I've told them. But I'm creating a second tier for I Refuse to Fail. And this is to provide people with more exposure to thousands of people monthly all over the country. So if it's something that you have an interest in, you can go to Alignable, you can search I Refuse to Fail, or you can send me an email or whatever, and I will get you the link to the group page. You can join the group page. It's absolutely free. The second tier, there is a small fee, but it's actually you can get all your money back. So I'm just looking for people who walk the walk instead of just talking the talk. So if they want to do that, then it might be worth your while looking at, but doesn't matter how many people we have, it's just need to have the right people. So anyway, thanks for the opportunity, Dr. Marie, doing this today on your platform.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. So we do have what we call Jodapris Live Talk. And on that platform, I do invite businesses. I invite business owners to come and share about your business, tell us about what you do, and then we're going to kind of give you the video after that. You can market that in your network, and then we can market you in our network. So if you feel like you want to be part of that, please don't be shy. You have my information. Reach out to me if you're on Learnable. I'm on Learnable. We do have the business development strategy group there where you can reach me. If you're not on Learnable, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. You just Google Dr. Maria Osako Djemo or Jodapris, you will find me somewhere.
Researcher.
Yes, I do have a university. If you're looking to have a degree, a certificate, or you want to kind of just learn a lot of things there, we can talk on that. So that's all we have today. I don't know if anybody has something to say before we can say goodbye.
Okay, guess we're done. And I'm always available for a one-on-one if you ever want to just, do a virtual. I'm happy to do it. So, okay.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for your participation. And
Robert, stay in touch.
Thank you
right.
both.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
I hit the button for request let's hook up. We'll do an additional one-on-one. We haven't spoken in quite some time, and heck, I'm already, the last one-on-one I did, I told them to contact you. So isn't that ironic? So
yeah. Okay, I appreciate it. All right. Talk to you all later.
yeah.
Thank you both.
Yep, you bet.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.